You can go to all kinds of different places in the world and different perspectives. And it's not the same as being there, but it's good.
Very nice. It's sort of, I think we're all trying to come up with ways that give us something of our experience. And a lot of our art experiences are group experiences, even though they're done by just us when we draw or look at art.
Yeah, I miss that.
Welcome, everybody. I think I'm going to say we'll jump right in and start up. We have a nice group. We'll still be adding people. This is Artist Talk on Art. We're a 501(c), and this is how we're sort of dealing with the pandemic. We can't gather at our spots in the East Village that we've done over 45 years, but we can do something like this on Zoom and get people from across the country together and be safe. So welcome to all the artists. This is a free presentation. We ask if you like to contribute, look at our website and see. We always are happy to receive, and it helps us do what we do. I want to thank you all. It's tough times. The format here is we'll go around. You may want to mute yourself. You may want to pin the person who's speaking by going in the top right corner, hitting the 3 buttons and clicking pin video. Likewise, if you want to mute yourself, keep in mind we'll hear you when you speak. And everybody, this is fun. It's exciting. We're going to start with Leah. Leah, where are you from? Where are you now?
I live in Harlem, and it's actually quite interesting that this neighborhood has been relatively peaceful. Stores are not boarded up. Everybody has kind of more or less been accustomed to the diversity in the day-to-day, and that's a way of life up here. I also have, hi, how are you guys? We have formed a group of Harlem artists that meet also once a week on Zoom, and we have chosen to deal very much with the feelings that we have, the depth of our emotional experience as artists, and a lot less with issues related to how you get shows and things like that. So it's not at all pragmatic, but it's definitely the feeling side of being an artist and the questioning side. That's been very interesting. Also, I'm involved in another Zoom group that is examining together the 9th Street Women, the books, and that too, lots and lots of rich material coming through, meeting people that I'd never, ever would have met if it was normal times. So I think we're living in very exceptional times. It calls for a great amount of suppleness and adjusting to a very different lifestyle, a different way of communicating. Mic is on.
Oh, Mitch, it's because you're on 2 devices.
Okay.
There we go.
Did you get it? Okay, thank you.
I'm off.
So if we feel poor on one hand, we feel richer on the other. And life was never easy. Any of you who've lived over the age of 50 understand very well that it can be extremely challenging. As an artist, being sensitive, it's much more challenging. And then what can we look forward to? What can we expect? I've been getting dozens and dozens of invitations to virtual this and virtual that. As a sculptor, I find that the sculpture doesn't do well virtually. Paintings do much better. The internet isn't so kind to sculptures. I don't know whether seeing exhibitions in a virtual environment does as much for me as actually experiencing the work, which I find the scale is very important. I did a piece that was an outcome of all of our experience on Zoom. I got to the point where I didn't even know what humans were with arms and legs. The first time I actually interacted after 3 months of isolation, and I saw people's arms and legs moving, I found it very distracting. It was like, oh, everybody's moving around, but please hold still. I'm used to this one headshot. So yeah, interesting times. Nobody said it would be easy. I think it's also an extraordinary opportunity to be a New York artist in New York where finally it's home, and all the static on the line of the tens and thousands of artists from everywhere in the world who want to be in New York can't, and we're here. So it behooves us to kind of take advantage of the situation, come up with some really cool ideas. I'm open for suggestions.
Can you share some of your work with us? You have options to do screen share. You can hold up works.
Yes, I can. You know, it's always tricky to figure out where that's all hiding. Let's see if I can find something for you. Okay, I don't want to take everybody's time while I'm looking. Do you want to give me a couple minutes to set up and talk to someone else in the interim? Back and I'll show you what I.
Hi, how are you?
Can't see us.
Oh, I don't know.
Hi.
You could at least introduce me.
Make sure your volume's off.
Why?
It's on.
It's not on.
We hear
You
you.
mute it? Oh, is muting it enough for you to?
Okay, yeah, Leah, you take your time. We'll come back. Does any questions for Leah? I know we haven't seen work, but she made some points. I see Mitch wants to ask something. Go ahead, Mitch.
Okay, so this is very poignant because for the last couple of weeks, I've been posting on Instagram and sharing on Facebook about how important it is, especially this time, for us not only to care about Black Lives Matter, but also Black artists matter. And since they are underrepresented minority, this is a time where, you know, even though we are here all, you know, white Caucasian artists, I go back to 2013, where I first met Leah and her sculptural artwork through Leanne Stella. And also through Charles Knox La Sista, who is in New Orleans. He had a gallery at the time in Harlem called the Knox Gallery. And it was a great brownstone, I believe, space. And he devoted it to his mother, who was a painter and an artist herself. And Leanne Stella is very active in the Harlem community. She had started founder of Flux Art Fair in Harlem. And also, you know, as far as
Thanks, Mitch. Yes, she's a big player, and she's now in real estate and still involved in the arts. Any other questions? Leah, would you want to try doing a screen
share the screen right now.
Excellent. Thank you, Leah.
Okay. So it says the host has disabled it.
I'll figure it out. Let's see. Remove video stuff.
Yeah, that exhibition was the first and only major exhibition I ever had of my realistic portraits, and it lasted for 6 months.
Try it now. Try it now. You should be able to now.
All right.
Just takes a minute.
Okay, so this is a very whimsical piece. It's a direct result of being in isolation for months. I didn't leave the house for 3.5 months, so this is the first week I've been out. And I found myself, you know, with counting how many meals I cooked and ate. I love to cook, but after 190 meals, it got to be a little bit tedious. And so there I was having a bowl of soup, and this bone emerged from my soup bowl and looked up at me, and I said, hello. And the next thing I know, I took it up to my studio. I gave it eyes and all kinds of stuff, and it morphed into a collection of about 20 Zoom personalities. Mm-hmm. And then as I tease everybody, I say, well, of course, if you look far enough, everybody has a giant femur bone hanging around in their art studio. And I did, in a box somewhere. I knew I had this bone, and so I was able to do the central figure. So it's just a riff on all of our Zoom meetings. Everybody has a name and they have a personality, and there's a conversation that takes place. And this is it, the work in progress. It's not quite complete there. And it's called the Zoom Meeting of the Board, B-O-R-E-D.
How large are they, Leah?
The small heads are about 1.5 inches, 2 inches tall. They're very small, like that. And the bone, the big one, Madame Beltet in the middle, she's larger, of course. But, it goes back to a conversation I had with my kids where they said, what are you going to do with all the stuff in your studio? What are we going to do with it when you're not with us anymore? And I said, well, hold tight. I'll make things out of it. I'll make art out of it. So I've literally been taking my studio apart and making art out of it. And this is just a playful piece that I did.
Thank you. Very nice. Certainly a lot of artists.
Delightful. I love it.
Do they exist, or are they in photographs now, or you had to use one bone to be many different sculptures, right? Or
Yeah, each one is a separate sculpture.
oh, so you have all those different bones to make sculpture with?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's probably, I have about 20 characters right now, and some of them I've been doing individually, on their own as small sculptures. So, but it has nothing to do with my normal work, okay? If I can pull up something normal that I do, something that's more like what Mitch is talking about, I'll show you that. This would be my last portrait that I completed at the end of last year. And the person who posed for me is from my neighborhood. He looks exactly like this. Okay. So see if I can get that one down. Up, stream shopping because the window closed. All right, I have to go back. Okay. There you go.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
Oh, wow.
That's great.
What are your materials there?
This is still in plaster. I did it in clay. And then this is the plaster, which eventually will be in bronze.
Wow.
Who is it, Leah?
He's actually an artist in Harlem. His name is Jassim, and he is probably the sweetest, most soulful, spiritual, kind person you've ever encountered. He's a Rastafarian. Every time he would sit for me, he'd take his hair and pull it up in different ways. It was maddening. It was impossible to do it twice the same way. It will be a really difficult cast to complete this piece. So it's on hold for right now.
So many.
Get it cast, right? But, was somebody mentioned to me before that I have so many portraits in my environment that I'm never alone. So my house is full of people, and this is one of the people I share my living room with. So it's very lovely. And I call it my sunflower man because he just, just his face just heads to the sun. It's just like sunshine in your eyes.
Very nice, Leah. Any thoughts? Any responses or questions? Certainly, you capture the spirit. You've got a nice textural quality that you have in your new work, which you say is different. It's interesting. You say it's not your normal work now, but I think your qualities still come through. Your strong texture in various, strong moments and soft moments in the work. You like hair too.
The big question, and I'll throw it out there to everybody because I think that one of the qualities of being an artist is that we're very, very sensitive to what's going to be. The things that are coming at us, we can't put names on them, but we pick up on it. And so imagine in December, that's before COVID, that's before the Floyd killing, I complete this sculpture of a gentleman who is unequivocally a Black man. There is no doubt whatsoever. And as I went to do the patina and I did the undercoat, he came out pearly white. And I said to myself, perfect. That's perfect. What a statement to make that he's exactly the opposite in tonality of what you would expect. And that was one way that you could actually see the differences in the textures. And then here you go, 3 months later, and everybody has the issue just slammed in their face. Wow, wake up, wake up. Well, here, this kind of like, ooh. So if somebody comes back and says, oh, you know, you did that way because of what went on. No, I had no idea this was going to happen. It just showed up that way, and I didn't want to take it to the next level, which would have been a classic patina. So we'll see. Maybe I'll get kicked out of the Whitney if I ever get asked.
That's always a good thing. That's always a good thing. I'm
Yeah.
going to ask Emily Stedman. Would you like to go and present to the group? Emily, you're on your audio.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you, Leah. That was very enjoyable. Thank you.
Barry, I just came to look this time. I haven't got anything set up.
That's
The first
okay.
time I've been here.
I'll just give a light introduction, though she won't show. I've known Emily from her studio in the South Bronx since probably 2000, and a great colorist working out of Yoho, Yonkers now, and that large building there that has a lot of very good artists who would normally have Yoho open studios now and are deciding what to do. Beautiful watercolors sort of on scene that she does at different spots. Very much a street painter with a brush. And as you know, watercolor is quite challenging. It really is. So another time we look forward to seeing you.
Thanks, Barry.
Yeah, another time. Fran, would you like to talk with us?
Sure. Hi. It's good to see you. I missed you guys last week because I was actually at the Jersey Shore. So my daughter left to go to the Jersey Shore for a week, and we drove her down there. And I have to say it was very surreal just getting in a car and going somewhere. And then things are much more open there. So it's a little unnerving, but very beautiful. Only was there for a day, but it was a lovely day. It was good to get back to my studio. I just finished a painting, but I thought I would show, before I show that, I thought I could show some of the paintings that led up to it. So I'm gonna, can I share a screen?
I think so. I'm trying to.
I think I froze.
Let me try this. Yeah, you should be able to try again. It's on multiple participants.
All right. Okay. Let me just, okay. So here I am, and there's that. Let me just make sure I have it up. Okay. Share screen. And yes, that worked.
Where are you, Fran? You're in the city?
I'm in Manhattan on the Upper West Side. My studio is between Riverside Park and Central Park. So the best of both. Okay, can you all see this?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So this is a series of works that I call my Dead Horse Bay series. So Dead Horse Bay is a really cool and bizarre place in New York City. It's a place where things classically get washed up onto the shore. Anything that's thrown in the ocean and the environs nearby tend to get caught up in the tides and brought up to Dead Horse Bay. So the reason it's called Dead Horse Bay is not because it's shaped like a horse or a dead horse, but because in the old days, when people used horses for transportation, when the horses would die, often they would just leave them at the side of the road. And if you can imagine, sanitation shouldn't complain so much today, because in those days they had to pick up all the dead horses. And at a certain point, they were throwing them into the ocean. It's a whole story. But they would wash up onto the shores of Dead Horse Bay, and that's where it got its name. Nowadays, what washes up onto Dead Horse Bay is all of this landfill junk from the 50s that's coming loose from all the nearby landfills. So in the 50s, it was kind of a pre-plastics era. So you get just, at low tide, you go to Dead Horse Bay and you see miles of like broken and intact bottles and glass and ceramics and just all this junk, including marbles. So I have a good friend who's a naturalist who took me to Dead Horse Bay for a scavenging expedition, and all the things you see here, most of them are from this place called Dead Horse Bay. So the glass, the marbles, and the rubber bands are actually in the same vein, recycled, because they're all from fruits and vegetables that I've saved and turned into rubber band balls. So I call this particular painting Losing My Marbles. So that's the first one in that series. And then this one is a drawing. I call it I Don't Give a Flying Fork. And, you know, I made it around the time Trump was elected. And I think I was really feeling, you know, like, but all these forks too are old cast off forks. Some of them are from Dead Horse Bay and some are just old forks from other places. And I am really fascinated by this idea of doing still lives that are not so still, with things that are floating or flying or falling. It's not always clear which. The still life is a little more still, but this is also a pile of junk from Dead Horse Bay. And just for me, it was looking at the beauty of things that are not traditionally beautiful. But I also love this old piece of a telephone that many of us here remember those days when you had to dial, right?
Where is Dead Horse Bay? I think I've seen photos of it.
It's in Brooklyn near Floyd Bennett Field, way out near Sheepshead Bay, the ocean. It's on the map, but and this is the last one in that series. I call it All Bottled Up, and these are also all things that I found at Dead Horse Bay, and these marbles, and I just really love doing these marbles.
I love the way you do glass, though. That's amazing.
Oh, thank
God.
you. Thank you
Is
so
it
much.
pastel?
Yeah, I like.
Is that colored pencil? What is that?
They're colored pencil. Yeah. And this is about 18 inches high.
Wow.
They're all about the same, 18 inches. The painting's 18 by 24. But I do love doing glass and reflections, and I love textures. So doing the metal forks versus the glass of the bottles, and then the beautiful colors of the marbles. So much fun. So those are those 4 pieces. And now I'm going to show you, I can show you the painting I just finished because it's kind of related. I think I showed this when it was in progress. I hope the light is okay today. It might be hard to see the whole thing. This lamp blocking.
Wow, that's
Can
really.
you see that?
A little closer.
Okay, I'm gonna bring
Yeah,
it up
that
so you
gives
can
us
see
the
in detail.
Good.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
So I've been working on this for a little while, and I just finished it 2 days ago.
Reminds me a little of the self-portrait you were doing.
Well, yes, exactly. In fact, I'll just show you that this came from, this is part of my self-portrait a day series for the year. So this was the drawing, and I decided to turn this one into this painting. And I think I'm going to paint some more of them. I really enjoyed it. And plus, I've been working in oils my whole life, but this is an acrylic. It's my first acrylic that I've done since I'm like 15 years old. It's a long time.
It looks like you're falling out of the glass, Fran.
Yes, Lois, thank you for noticing that. So the hand really popped out. Yeah. And at first I thought, I should pop that back in. And I thought, you know what? Why? I like it. I like the idea that it's coming right out.
That you could be within the glass, in the negative space, in the hollow within the glass, or on the surface, or it's transparent glass. So you're all over that glass. Good.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, yeah.
Fran,
So
how did you find working with the acrylics as compared to working with oils for so many years?
right. So oils are definitely more juicy and luscious, and you get this beautiful glossy sheen. So it was a little challenging because you get a kind of more matte effect, but I think I'm going to experiment with some kind of varnishes to give more of that glossy effect at the end. And it took a little while to get used to, but it was okay. I feel like it was kind of cool. I feel like at this point in my life, I could pick up any medium and figure it out because it's what we do, right? Yeah.
Very
What
nice,
was-
Fran. Very
What
nice.
was one more question.
Thank you.
What is your thinking behind
Yeah.
making them falling in play? Falling. You know, and the other things too, like the forks. Is that
right?
like,
What is my thinking? You know, that is such a great question because the truth is, it didn't come from a place of thought originally. I've looked back at my work, and even when I was a child, I drew things falling. And some of my first artworks in high school, even and college, I had things randomly falling. I've just always been attracted to that. So why I've thought about that over the years, you know, I think something about art can be very serious sometimes, you know, especially the art tradition that I came out of, which is more realistic. Traditional art can be a little heavy and serious. So I feel like having things falling and flying is unexpected and makes it a little more lighthearted, a little more fun. So within the realm of my serious work, I'm trying to bring a little lightheartedness, lightness, and yeah.
Fran, are you familiar with Janet Fish's work?
Yes, I love her
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
I love it very much. Yeah.
Last
Yeah.
Reflection.
Oh my God, she was amazing with that. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I know there are other artists now who are doing floating, flying, falling things. Yeah.
I think you've captured something important. You talk about still lives that are not still. The objects are in motion. They're washing up on the shore. It's social detritus that is coming back from the 50s after erosion. I mean, it all sort of makes sense that it is activated. It's like falling out of the sky from the past. It's and I think you're capturing it.
True. I like that, Barry. Oh, thank you. I like that idea. I'm gonna run with that.
You know, it's and also, you know, you can't but mention your quality of skill that you bring to it. And I would say, I love the glass. I love it all. I almost want to see an all glass painting and go for it, reflect away and get me lost in reflections. I don't know where they're coming from. And, you know, throw me in the, what is that 16th century Van Eyck with the half round mirror that you're referencing slightly. All artists who do that, you have to draw back to that imagery. So, Fran, beautiful work. Any other thoughts? Any other thoughts, and we'll move on. Mitch?
So Fran, last time you were on, you did this artwork with reflections also, if I recall. So this is not the first one.
No, not at all. You're right. That's right. Yeah, I love reflections. So in addition to falling and flying and floating things, I love reflections. I call it worlds within worlds. So, you know, here I am drawing a vase, but it's not just a vase. It's got the whole world reflected inside of it, which brings this whole other depth and like a parallel universe in there. So, yeah.
Very nice. I like that. Very nicely said. Very
Thank
nice.
you.
Tony Ann, would you like to present? Welcome.
Hi, how are you? Actually, no, I'm really just here to listen. I'm more of a writer than an artist, but I've been on I was on Mike's calls. I know Fran from that. So.
Hey, Tony Ann. Good
Hi,
to see you.
Nice to see you. So.
Very well. Out of curiosity, where are you from? Are you in New York City?
I'm in Staten Island.
Staten Island. Okay. Well, welcome and join us another time and spread the word.
Thank
Lois Bender, would you like to share?
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
I've been here once before, a few weeks ago. And I have 2 bodies of work, but I think I'll share watercolors. I also do printmaking, so I'm going to do that another time. And I've been working on a flip book, which promotes an art workshop that I was going to do this summer in Paris with urban sketchers. I'm also a watercolor artist like Emily. And this summer wasn't the summer, as we all know. Everything's postponed. Everybody's doing stuff thinking they'll do it next year, but we hope. So I put together a book of watercolors that promote teaching watercolor, but it's my work. So let's look at that. And can I share the screen? Let me see. Oh yeah, it's so smooth how you're running this. It's ready, okay. Are you seeing my screen, everyone?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. See
Okay.
Paris, painting Paris gardens.
Yeah, I'm waiting for it to be a big page. Is it big now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Fills the whole screen.
All right. So what I wanted to do was show a kind of a preview of instruction, but my work, I love working spontaneously on site with nature. I've had a business called Garden Spirits since '95, so it's like 25 years old, and I did nature-based work throughout, not just watercolors then, but it was printmaking as well. So I'm turning the page, and this is about painting in a garden in Paris. Does anybody know
Oh, wow.
the Luxembourg Gardens in Paris? There's such a beautiful, it's a beautiful garden. It's so beautifully formally planned, and I've painted there several times and love that feeling of the grandiose spaces. So I would love to teach a class there, and I proposed it to Urban Sketchers, which is an international organization of artists who love to sketch. And next year, they've approved it, but we're waiting. We'll see what happens. So in this booklet, I put together some of the photos of like the sites I like, with some of my images as well. And I'll just take you through some of the pages. What I wanted to do is introduce some language that sort of romanticizes it. So that's not especially, I can't go through that language with you now, but I'm taking you through thumbnails when you see a garden and you relate to different imagery and you want, you know, you're overwhelmed with what should I paint? What should I sketch? And you have to, like, in a way, think quickly and think about what you do want to paint. Everyone thinks that in a day's time, they've spent so much time deciding what to paint, they don't have time to paint. So I would like to help people formulate quick thumbnails of views that they've seen. And I show information like the quick sketch. And here's a kind of a rough painting, but sometimes the spontaneity of painting fast and roughly, you get better results than sometimes painting for 2 hours or 3 hours. So I show the steps of painting through a first layer of washes at the top, and then layering paint, a second layer of darks over the first layer. I mean, it's technical, and people who want to learn how to paint watercolor would want to, you know, paint in classes. This was a fantastic photo of the dark clouds and the gorgeous saturation of the low cloud cover, the cumulus clouds, and when you get sharp sunlight, but you have clouds, it's gorgeous. And I painted warms and cool greens here. I also love the statuary and the neutrals that you get with the statues in that garden. And here's step by step and a more finished painting on the right. And
Lois,
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
some beautiful work. I do want to point the last image you had up, that one there, where you see the partially finished work, the
Yeah.
positive and negative space together, looks very interesting. And earlier, when you showed the line work, your line is brilliant and vibrant. I see how quickly you move and how well it's sort of capturing the sort of real space, but with an energy. And Very nice to see the work. Continue. I'm quite interested in your black and white work.
Well, the funny part, is there one back here? No, but the funny part is I do love line, but I've often not focused on line when I do watercolor. I mean, there's a school of art that loves line and color together, and it's very linear. A lot of urban sketchers actually are more linear and work with drawing more than painting and color. But, you know, as usual in art, there's linear focused people and colorists, so, you know, it continues. The variety of all of us is fantastic. And so I take the kind of line sketch here, and this is all shape on the right. This booklet should be pared down to maybe 10 pages, and this is kind of like a whole overview of a lot of projects. I could show a lot of different, you know, talk about a lot of different pieces. So my own opinion is the book is quite long, even though it's 30 pages. I mean, it's still packed with a lot of art, but, you know, I'd like to narrow it down. But I just want to go to the panoramas. These are panoramas, and I feel like I've been to the garden for 2 weeks. I've been painting a lot of images, and you know, the panoramas are so interesting because you get a lot of, you got to piece all those parts together. I've enjoyed doing the work. This I did on site when I was in Paris, and
so you mean some of the things in this book you just painted?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot of work.
Well, no, it's sort of some things. Like I went to Google Street Views. Has anyone used that? We've been doing it in Sketchers.
Yeah.
And, you know, I looked for the sunny day image, you know, views. There were a lot of nasty days. But you could piece through some art. So, I mean, I had to fill in. I had thought I'd be teaching June 1st to June 3rd a week ago in Paris. So that's what we thought in February. And then, you know, we had to, you know, that, you know, God laughs. We plan and God laughs. But I do like the feeling of the rhythm of the cascading, you know, clumps of nature, of shrubbery. Urban Sketchers said that they thought people could use help with greenery and shrubberies and, you know, vegetation. But I do love the vases. I love the geraniums. I like the neutrals, the sky, the greenery, you know. It's, I love parks and gardens. So I think this is the finale. You know, I mean, it's a little over the top, but, you know, people need to be, you know, encouraged. So that's what I felt I should put together. You know, I'm still assembling. It has to, you know, I have to take time to review it. And the classes are next year, so I have a whole year. So what's the rush, right?
I think many plans that people have, you know, had that they were looking forward to, unfortunately, didn't come to fruition. And these are plans that sometimes take 5 years or 1 year to make happen. I do have to point out in the image that's up here, as a colorist and getting form and working in those greens, it is not easy to do and very easy to get muddy one color and lose the depth. But you've got beautiful gradations and different colors, let alone the highlights, the dots, the reds, and the violets, but the different greens. And it's obvious a confident, quick hand that is getting that, is my guess. So you have both. You have both tools at your, you know, in your toolbox. And it's interesting that how you mentioned line versus color. You know, you can play in both fields. You're choosing to integrate to book and word, and obviously there's the big book fairs in the city. I'm sure you look to get distribution there. Any other questions and thoughts for what's...
Can you go back a couple of pages?
Yeah, sure. I don't know where you...
One more. There were a lot of little images and it went by very fast. Oh, that one.
This one I did. These are pictures I did in the Hamptons. I taught art there for a lot of years.
Oh,
and,
okay.
In this page, I was going to take away like the bottom portion and put in a little more bio or statement. But well, this is kind of like the info page. I mean, remember, this is a selling piece, but you know, these flip books are great because you could put together a catalog that's an artist catalog without this promotion kind of thing. But I think it's a great format.
This is a gorgeous book, Lois. You know, I saw it when you were just starting, and to see it come to this stage is amazing. It's gorgeous.
Well,
I
thank
want one.
you.
It's,
And you can make your own of your work, everybody.
Yes.
But no, it's sort of, you know, it's a kind of a process of overdoing and then underdoing, and then there are different
Yeah.
purposes. The same book I might have to change a lot to send to a different type of audience. But anyway, I recommend this. So I'll pass on to the next. Any other comments?
I think it's coming along beautifully, though.
I think that the page with the vignettes of the Hamptons was the perfect segue into an observation that I would make, having lived in Paris for 20 years and knowing these gardens intimately. What you captured is the space, the airiness of the space. There's something about these gardens that is very restful and very soothing. And you talk about it as love. I'll tell you, you wouldn't get a single Parisian saying they didn't like these images, because they are loving images of that space.
Well, thank you.
It's a loved garden.
Thank you. I'd like to try to get attached to other gardens, so I'm going to work on that. And the geometry in that garden, the repetition, it's comforting. It's like being in a big Euclidean geometry world. I don't know, of arcs and curves and semicircles. Anyway.
Oh no, a lot of the French gardening was about controlling nature, setting it into a geometric form.
Yes.
So you're exactly right. And it presents as both maybe a little over manicured in a way and a little obtuse from reality. And on the other hand, it's an amazing sculpture on a large scale done by landscape architects who are incredible.
Yeah.
So,
and in your first line drawing, you show the Tour de Montparnasse.
Yes.
Which the French, it's very interesting to see the juxtaposition and have it represented by just a couple of vertical lines. Because the French all say, what's the best view of Paris? And they say from the Tour de Montparnasse, because it's the only place where you don't see the Tour de Montparnasse.
I have a question.
yes, go ahead, Mitch, and then we'll move on.
Yes. Okay. So we have two watercolorists here, Emily and Lois. So, Lois, you explained at the beginning of your presentation about your process, okay?
Yeah.
As far as your steps.
Yeah.
Emily, my question for you is that any different from your method of watercolor?
Well, I'm not sure I have a method. That's the thing. I just sort of kind of whatever the subject is, takes it from there, or the feeling or whatever. I'm not teaching it, so I don't have to break it down.
I'll say one thing.
Usually I draw first, though. I'm interested in drawing. I mean, no matter what it is.
And it shows, because Emily's got great structure and beautiful drawings underneath watercolor.
And I think in Emily's form, what she's done when she works with the brush and she lays down the watercolor, the edge retains the dark and she gets the light and the dark at the same time. She works with the puddle very well. It's very hard to do. That's what I've seen in the last 5 or 8 years come out of her work. And so it's a different approach than laying lights and then laying darks. And of course, that would be the way to go in watercolor, yes. Right. But Emily somehow, out of a brush that's loaded and a curve, you get a full grade of color with a compactness on the edge of the darker shades. Yes, Emily? Or maybe not. I will move on at this point, though. I
think I.
Oh, she's a little frozen, maybe.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. And I think we'll move.
Happening.
Emily, did you hear my thoughts?
Yes, I did. You want me to respond or move on? I mean, I put a lot of color in the brush. I mean, greens and you know, alizarin crimson and blue on one stroke. So
that's part of it. That's sort of the loaded brush that it's very delicate to control that. Let's move on to Regina Silvers. Regina, would you like to present?
Well, I guess I could. I wanted to ask you one thing though first. Last week, was it Ray Mendez who had the images of the protests outside his window?
And J.C. Rice. Yes, Ray had it outside the window.
Well, I was it really upset me. And I was hoping to find out if he actually reported that incident. Because there was one incident where he had, the police had come in at before 8 o'clock, before the curfew, and had tracked the group of people on the street from one end and the other end. And these people were mixed. They couldn't have left because there were police stopping them. And that really enraged me. It really did. And I just didn't know whether that was one of the incidents that should be noted in the police records of what happened. Because he has very good pictures of who it was who did that.
Yes, and he mentioned it was a high-ranking policeman. Unfortunately, it sounds like the definition of entrapment.
Yes.
Trap. And unfortunately, I guarantee you, there are hundreds of incidents like that going on around this country, and documenting each one is important. But I found it made me think a lot, and I think it's important if it was upsetting.
But I'm just wondering whether he is going to use that to report the incident. And if you are in touch with him, you would like to relay that message to him. What? If
Regina,
you
Regina, go on Instagram and go to his page. He responded to me last week after the meet. He responds in an audio message, which is very interesting, but his friend Barry said he's a really nice guy. You could just mention that you were at the ATOA directly through a direct message on Instagram.
So that's just under his name? Is that his tag?
Yeah, I'll send you the link, but yes, and I'll reach out to Ray.
Because
no, it was moving.
Because that really got me going. I may have mentioned I'm going to be doing what is it, the USPS challenge on Instagram, which is, an effort to help the USPS stay in business by using direct mail to mail art back and forth between two people. One person starts and one person ends.
Who are you working with?
I'm working with Bonnie Epstein, and Bonnie Epstein is just the opposite of me. Bonnie sent me this, which is ledger paper, an accordion. And what I decided to do, and Ray really started me on this thought too, was, as some of you may know, I do a lot of protest paintings. And I thought that I would use this and do some cut out headlines from the newspapers, from the COVID and from the protests, and then make them small and put them in here, and then do transparent watercolor, do the protesters, with these things superimposed. One side maybe the COVID, and one side maybe the police brutality. So it's really got me going. I mean, I spent yesterday afternoon. I get the Times Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of the paper version, and I spent the weekend cutting out the headlines and the images. And it reminded me that in a way, this is how my whole protest painting started. I spent from 28 until 18, for 10 years, I painted mostly the Granny Peace Brigade. And I think I showed you some paintings last week from that. But before that, I was just fascinated when I was looking around for how to get back into painting. And I was fascinated. I was looking at the Times, which was still in black and white. I'm talking about 80s or 90s. The Times wasn't in color, so black and white headlines. And what struck me most about the images were the protests of various kinds, because they were the most dynamic. People are holding things and they're fighting and they're, you know, in the midst of a mob. So I'll see if I can find, and then I would love your advice on this. I have not really shown, I only showed one of these paintings in public all the time. And I went on, I was working at the time. I didn't have to, you know, show or sell my art. I just wanted to do it and hold down a job. So I really didn't focus on showing my work very much. And I went on to doing landscape for a while because I was up in the country a lot, and then the Granny Peace Brigade because I was back in the city. But I was looking at my early placard. I called it a placard series because they're mostly holding placards. So and I would love to have your advice if anybody has any ideas on whether or not, you know, it's really hard right now. Everybody's protesting, you know, and I don't know if this work is old. Nobody in the art world wants to see work that's more than 5 years old. Well, this work is 20 years old or 25 years old, but it's never been shown. A lot of it's never been finished, and a lot of it's not even been photographed.
You want to share some images on
this? If I'll share a screen, and I can.
You know, it's timeless. What?
It's maybe to you it's timeless, but to gallery people, oh, it's too old. You know, it's only I'm afraid to submit it even because it is old. But here, let's see. I'm going to share my screen.
Regina, if someone thinks it sort of depends on the gallery and their whole thrust, but if someone thinks they can sell your work, they don't care when you made it. They only care that it's available.
Do you see this?
Yes.
Yep.
Perfectly.
So this is a kind of selection of this early series. The first one is up the left, called Roe versus Wade. And
this wonderful.
This was, let me try to make that bigger. This was a, you know, it was a protest, pro and con, the Roe versus Wade people, you know, before it was passed.
You know, the word old isn't a good word. I think continuity is the right word, because continuity is from these, you know, 1973.
Yeah, I call it democracy in action. You know, it's always been going on.
Well, continuity is very evident there.
And historical. It's historical.
And this was a Union Square protest of some kind, also from then. This was just called Brooklyn protest. It was a rent protest that I got. As I said, these were all based on New York Times. Oh, and then this one. This is the only one that I ever showed. This was.
You raised it up.
This was when the NYU teachers were on strike.
You have to raise it up, though. It's not.
Scroll up your screen because it's at the bottom third.
Is that better?
No.
No. Just play around with your mouse wheel, I guess.
Oops. I just deleted it. Wait a minute. See?
Oh, we still see it.
Yeah, we see it.
Yeah, those were.
If you go to the top of this, if you go to the top of the window, there's 3 buttons on the left, and push the green one to maximize it up all the way to the left, all the way up. Keep going up, up, more up.
The green
more
one?
Up.
That's the green one.
Or yeah, that's the green one. Right, hit that button. That should maximize your page. Did you press that?
Well, that's where it went.
I guess it's already maximized.
Yeah.
I will say, to your point about old and new and doing imagery from the 60s, 70s, or 80s, if you listen to the radio, they're playing Bob Dylan and other music that's making the statement about equality, freedoms, social justices from 40, 50, 60 years ago. And that's the thing about art, you know, work that's 5 years old. I don't know, Van Gogh's over 100 years old, his work. It's still relevant if you sketch a tree, and protests have gone on since people organized themselves, I would say.
Right. I mean, this summer is the summer. If this isn't the right time, there's no right time. I only thought this summer would have political Trump, anti-Trump rallies, but now you've got every rally under the sun of every kind. So it's topical.
It's topical, but I don't know, you know, I really don't know what to do with them.
Well, past is
Oh,
prologue.
Regina, at the very bottom of your screen, it allows you to enlarge the size of the images with that sort of the other side. Sorry, it's on the right side. There's like a that. It's like a wedge with a dot in the middle. And if you move the dot to the plus side, it'll make all your images bigger. On the bottom, there's a minus and a plus. Do you see that?
On like a triangle, you're in the middle setting of that. Any other questions? So we will move on.
Yeah.
And thank you for presenting, Regina.
I'm just, if anybody has any good ideas of what I can do or who I could try to get these to see, I would appreciate it, because aside from
Regina, I think you should approach museums and permanent collections in small museums to start with, and college art galleries, where there are kids who are interested in the protests and in this whole wave of action,
I was going to try to do that.
Maybe the New York Historical Society.
Right.
Even NYU has a great gallery.
That's true. Great gallery. That's a good idea too.
It's just south of Washington Square Park. NYU has a great gallery.
I put a recommendation in the chat, the Wolfson in Miami, which is the Museum of Propaganda Art.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. And they're expanding. They have a huge program now to triple their size.
Wow.
I never heard of it.
Nice to sort of engage the beehive mentality and everybody share and give you ideas. I'm going to move on. Jill, would you like to present now? And I do want to just remind everybody, this is Artist Talk on Art. Thanks for coming. It's every Monday. You guys make it happen. Thanks to Sophia for making everything go smoothly. And even for Fran being our tech support there. That's a big help. It's beehive mentality. We're all in this together. We usually hit snags. And if you'd like to contribute, you can check out our website. I want to move on to Jill and then Robin. Does that sound good, Jill?
Sure. Hi. So this is my second time back. I'm very happy to be here. So I am a psychologist, and I also do photography and more recently watercolors since the pandemic. So I thought maybe I'd show some of my abstract photography on Instagram. I'll try and do this sharing my screen. I'm from New York originally. I'm a native, and I find it very interesting going to artist group. I am a self-taught artist, although art was a big influence in my life growing up. I went to Little Red, and I had some great teachers and was in New York at a very interesting time, at various times. And then I left in from 1980 until 98. So I came back in 99. But anyway, so I'm going to show you, hopefully I'll be able to do this. Let me see. Just select, I just want to show my desktop.
I think you have a screen share option. The bottom middle maybe is a green button, share screen.
Yeah, I'm doing share screen, and then it gives me, oh, here, maybe Instagram. Okay.
That works. Yep, perfect.
Okay.
Look at us, so technically swift.
Okay, so this is in Chelsea. I'm sort of drawn to painted wall. They paint over walls. They paint over graffiti, and then just sort of found artwork that's been drawn or posted onto a lot of the plywood walls.
So is this a photo, Jill?
Yeah, these are all photos.
Nice.
Thank you. Oops. So this is before the COVID. Okay. So then this is, I don't know exactly. This is in my neighborhood. I live in the Lower East Side. And this was actually a newly painted wall in the Lower East Side. But I definitely have been, in the last several years, focusing on abstraction.
Is that a wire and it's shadow?
Yeah. Oops.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a wire, and it's shadow.
Oh.
It's on a wall of a Mexican restaurant.
Hmm.
Very nice. I mean, strong coloration and rope. Anytime you use rope or grab a shadow or use wire, and its relationship to line, very playful. It's simple, but it's not. It says a lot with just a few 2 loops, and of course all the little marks, the little, everything becomes interesting. Let alone the brick on the side. Reads as a nice framing.
Thank you. This was actually in Brooklyn. I'm in a group. It's a group that Michael's in. Artists. It's an artist group, and we meet once a month, although not since COVID. But this was the subway. Just an abstraction of part of the subway sign. And I've been definitely drawn to torn posters for a long time.
Has anybody seen the artwork that was done on the plywood in Soho last week?
Did you go, Leah?
No, I did not.
No.
Yeah.
I think they had 70 artists painting.
Not yet.
Wow.
My friend Tequila took a photo of someone painting on them.
Is that the Waverly?
Yeah, it's actually a video. I made a photo book. I could show you.
Oh, wow. It's tiny.
Yeah, it's tiny.
I love that.
With sewing? You sewed it.
Oh.
It's based on one piece of paper, and you fold it up in a certain way, and it was on photo paper.
It's nice, beige and gray, very beautiful.
This
Nice.
was in Montreal, actually. They were celebrating Pride, and they had these strings of balls on going all the way down several streets.
Oh, that's great looking. I love that.
Yeah.
Mm.
Beautiful.
Very zen in a way, your work.
Wonderful. Yeah. Wow. These are wonderful.
Thanks.
It's funny, you have a mix though. I see your concern for traditional strong geometry.
Yeah, that's actually, it seems like I've been drawn to geometry pretty much throughout the time I've been taking photos. I started taking photos when I was a teenager, and I'm definitely drawn to geometry. This is after I saw Yoko Ono exhibit in Montreal. You put words on grapefruits. So these are words that I tend to use very frequently. That was in Montreal.
Oh, that's amazing.
Brilliant.
Those balloons, those
I think
The string.
Yeah, they were like rainbow colored, and it went all the way down several streets on the top part, sort of where the lampposts were. And then this is a walkway where people just sort of looking out.
That's appropriate.
Really? That's great.
That's actually in near the Bowery. They have some really great poster art and graffiti. I think that was in Brooklyn.
Wow, that's beautiful. Art is everywhere. Oh, isn't that funny?
There's an artist that
Terrence,
puts it
right?
all over
Terrence
the city.
Kellerman?
Sorry?
Terrence Kellerman, right?
I'm not sure. It's an artist that puts these Be Mighty.
Well, Terrence Kellerman was my assistant when I was working at MoMA.
Oh wow!
and in like around 2000, in the early 2000s, and he left, and he's a very talented person. He really is. And
Oh, he said,
nice
I shot the same flyer with a different composition. Yeah, I think the artist actually responded to me in one of my posts. Terrence Kellerman.
It's funny. It's like he has a signature, and you just knew immediately who he was.
Well, Be Mighty. He's been doing this all over. It's kind of like street art, but he's really devoted to this really Be Mighty. It's a very inspirational kind of message that he's putting all around Soho, all around downtown. I don't usually see them, but he does post them frequently. Yeah, this is terrific. It works very well with what it's on. I think you got a great picture out of it, the whole thing.
Thank you, Jill. Thank you.
Sure. That's my last one. That's I took a night class at SBA.
Night photography?
No, night photography at SBA. Okay, well, thanks.
Beautiful work. Beautiful, Jill.
Thank you.
Very, very painterly.
All right, let me try and.
Yes, very nice.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, and thanks for coming back. And it's nice to hear people say they like to be here and share. And I appreciate you all sort of bonding to the group. It's great seeing new people and seeing people share parts of their work differently. Let's move to Robin Halpern. Robin, where are you? Where's your studio? Where?
I'm still upstate New York.
Okay.
Still upstate New York for the time being. I would love to share with everyone. However, I'm not prepared today. I wanted to find out from you. I guess a way that I could do it would be to share images on my website. How would I do that?
So basically, you'd open up on your computer your website, and then in this Zoom window, you'd have another screen, and you'd go to the bottom. It'll say Share Screen. You'll click on it, and then you can do it. We can do it next time, and we can walk you through it. It's really quite easy. Yeah, I'm still a rookie at it myself, but somehow I tell people.
Okay, so I have different categories. I can show recent works. I have paintings, things that work on paper, photography. I can show different things at different times.
Yeah, whatever is on your website at the time is what will show, and then you can go to the side and change what you're putting up on your website.
Let's start with the work.
I'm sorry, on your desktop, I mean.
Work pre 10 years old.
Pre 10 years old.
Whatever you like. If you like, shall we do it next time, Robin?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do it next time. I want to go to Michael. Michael Krasowitz has presented a few times. Always interesting, unique mix of work. Leah's waving goodbye. And thank you. Everybody's been sharing and really good dialogue and questions and feedback. I really like this, guys. So let's continue. It's great thought. Welcome, Michael.
Hi, everybody. I'm in Huntington, New York, and the smoke alarm is going off downstairs in the kitchen, and I'm hoping. Okay, I think they just solved it. So okay, I thought I might have to run. I thought I'd share this weekend. My wife and I did a performance art piece on Instagram Live, and it was our first attempt at doing this. We designed a costume. I hand painted it. She posed like she was a sculpture, and then did an interpretive dance afterwards. So I can show you. Hopefully, I have this thing set up. This is just a small clip from the video. I'm trying to make it a little bigger.
You have that full screen button to the left of it too, I think. Left of the sound, it looked like it would go bigger screen.
I can go something like that. So the first thing we did was split screen and on Instagram Live. So she was dancing and I was painting. And then we had this idea that we would try this thing this time. And the next piece that we're going to try is we're going to get like a 10-yard piece of fabric, and we're going to try to get the local museum to let us perform there. And we're going to have her stand at the top of the steps and run the fabric about 40 feet. And she's going to dance movement with the fabric while I'm painting it.
You know, seeing the aerosol spray off made me think of Andy Goldsworthy.
But just, yeah. Well, you know, that was a spontaneous thing. I didn't know I was going to do that. And the light was sitting behind us. So that was really cool. Yeah, the light was coming through the paint. So I thought, oh, I'll try to incorporate that. So I think one of my friends said that I should be more dramatic when I paint.
More dramatic?
I might incorporate, you know, a little bit of drama myself when I paint. So the next thing, I think we're going to try a brush that's about an 8-inch diameter brush.
Oh boy.
So we have a big brush to work with.
It did seem, Michael, like you were dancing with her, kind of.
Yeah.
Well,
when I watched it.
That's cool. That's what I wanted. I wanted it to kind of have a feeling like that.
I don't know if I'd go with an 8-inch.
I want to share one more thing with you guys.
I don't know if I'd go with an 8-inch brush or maybe recommend a 10-gallon bucket.
Well, you know, I really wanted to, you know, like when she said that, my friend Kay said that, I really want to avoid it looking like the cliched artist painting somebody's fabric, you know, and I wanted it to be more unique. So, you know, throwing the paint, I didn't want to throw the paint. I didn't want to flick the paint. I wanted it to be more disciplined and more like Chinese characters, a more formal approach to it. But we'll see. I don't know. But that's what I was working on, and this is another thing I thought I'd share with you guys. This is something I did a few years ago. I do this series. I'll do like a painting, some idea for a year, and this was called Kraz Tunes, and these were like daily cartoons that I was putting on social media. And I thought this is an Instagram thing. If you ever want to take a look at it. But I was doing these line drawings, and I thought, I don't know if I've ever shared with you guys, and I thought I would.
Great. Oh, I love that. Howdy.
I love those two faces.
You know, the idea came from the two Fez hats that the guy that did The Simpsons, like his name is going out of my mind, did originally. And I thought of this dialectic idea.
Matt Groening.
Yeah, Groening. Yeah, that was my original take, was to kind of do a single frame cartoon with these two characters who are having this conversation.
I got to say, your range, Michael, is really impressive. It really is. I mean, you know, almost today, you can't ask an artist, what do you do, and hear painter, you expect to hear many other things, and you fulfill that with performance, but inside the range of your drawings, your content, your painting, I think it's great. I really like the variety.
This is pretty prescient. This was 2 years ago. Wow.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
What goes around comes around, I think.
Mm.
So probably something else that was happening. Thank you, Barry. I appreciate it.
Oh, that's wonderful. I don't know, they're cartoons, but at the same time, they're so artistic and they go beyond cartoons in a way.
Well, cartoons have really evolved lately.
And Daumier didn't do a bad job of cartooning either.
This is true.
Well, one week I'll show you my cartoon book, my comic book. Maybe next week.
Maybe we'll have a
Thanks,
focused
guys.
cartooning one. That would be fun, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that idea of a lot of mediums. That would be interesting to show more mediums than your usual one medium at once. I mean, one session showing a few things in different mediums.
Good deal.
For me, it's all part of the same kind of stream.
Mm-hmm.
This came out of the computer art. So I was doing the computer art for a really long time. So this line work, this actually goes back to the old style, which people told me they got tired of. So I switched.
People told you they were tired of it, so you switched it? That's very obliging of you. Or were you also looking for something new?
No, I'm kind of sensitive. I've always been sensitive to that. When 25 years ago, I was doing black and white pen and ink drawings, and I went to I was young, and I went to somebody who was really knowledgeable in the art world, and he said, if you do black and white, you're never going to have a career in the arts.
Really?
Everything's
Look
color.
at Robert Crumb. Robert Crumb did terribly.
Yeah, I know. But it does get into my head, I have to admit. I don't, and I do listen, and sometimes it does. And in a way, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. But it did, move me off the square a little bit.
I think there's always these fatalistic, horrible things that some people say to you, and they really stick with you. It's important to break out of that and have confidence in your own artistic.
Yes, beware
Vision.
of what other people say.
Yeah.
It can really stop a direction you're developing. It can be, I've had it happen to me. There's criticism, and then there's misdirection, and people with good intent, and sometimes their intent isn't good. But as an artist, you've got to learn to trust your voice, your eye, and you obviously have it. I think we're all very impressionable and sensitive, and maybe that's part of what makes us an artist too. It works for us and against us.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to ask Sophia to present. Sophia's our intern and also quite the artist. Would you like to share with us today, Sophia? And let me ask you real quickly, have you been able to record?
I have.
So I'm going to leave this to you to download direct as we discussed with Matt. So thank you guys for handling all that technical stuff. And welcome, Sophia, as our new intern, an artist out of Portland, Oregon.
Yes.
Yes. And your school was Mead? Four letters.
Reed.
I knew it had
Reed.
That's
Steve Jobs.
School. Oh.
Yeah.
You like it?
I like it. It's definitely very quirky and interesting, but hard. But it's fun to be here. It's beautiful here. So I'm happy. I don't have my latest art piece that I'm working on right now. I left it at my friend's house. But I do have my Instagram that I don't update as often as I should, but I'm happy to share it.
Yes, we accept work that's over 2 weeks old here at the ATOA.
Oh, good. Thanks. Is it sharing? I think so. Okay, share. Yeah, it's not very updated, but this is some of the work I've done in the past. I really enjoy line work. It's fun to play around with. Yeah, I've sold a few bags in the past, some Jesus bags and Twiggy bags that I made stencils for and spray painted.
So they're all one-offs, yes?
What?
They're all one-offs. They're all unique then.
They are. The coloring is unique. I usually use the same stencils until they disintegrate. Then I make a new one. But yeah, this is
a little slower with the images.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's sort of like there's a lot of sketches in here. It's not like super serious. We ordered, but yeah. I had a real thing for Jesus a few years ago, so Jesus is a big part of my art.
What do you think led to you to have a big artistic thing for Jesus?
I guess as a teenager, I'm 20 now, so I'm not too far out from being a teenager. Like, you always want something to look to like guide you. You want some sort of, I don't know. Jesus just seemed like an enigma to me. Like, everyone looks up to Jesus. He's like this iconic figure and has been for centuries. So
were you raised Christian?
Not really. I was kind of raised to be like spiritual, but not really. There wasn't a specific faith my parents followed. My dad was raised Christian though. Yeah, it's fun. It's all fun. Yeah.
I like the yellow one where he's on that crossboard.
Oh yeah, this is a fun one. I put googly eyes on it.
Oh yeah. You got it all going there. The eyes being the halo.
Yeah.
The screen on like bathroom tile almost, but that's great.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's spray painted, an acrylic. Yeah, there's a big religious theme in my art, I think. I'm not sure why.
You like Richard Prince?
I actually don't know who that is.
Oh, the nurse series, yeah.
Yeah, when I see the nurses and your figures, you're capturing a sort of, it's not a cartoonish, it's a certain view that's almost time dated. And he does something like that, usually sometimes appropriating imagery, which I sense you're doing as well, in that you didn't take the photo. What are you working for your materials?
Like my medium, or what am I working on?
No, so you got the Malcolm McDowell from Clockwork Orange, and the nurse. Where do you get that image from?
I just usually I'll like try to find. Well, I mean the one of the guy from Clockwork Orange. I just screenshotted a clip from the movie, and then the nurse. I just liked her face, so I used her face and then added everything else that I wanted to add. I just looked up like girl's face like sucking on something.
That'll get you something.
Yeah. Yeah, I usually play around with like different things and then choose what I like and choose what I don't like. But yeah, unfortunately none of this is updated, so this is kind of old work, but still fun. Yeah.
Very nice. Any
Sure.
thoughts? Any questions for Sophia?
What is that first image? Is that what is that on the head?
This one?
Yeah, is it leaves? You put
Yeah, this is actually, I did this one a few weeks ago. This is like dried leaves I found from around my home area because we have a lot of really beautiful flowers and stuff, and I dried them and then sewed a mask and then put all the dried flowers on
Wow,
to
that's
the
beautiful.
mask. Thank you. Oh,
Wow.
That's gorgeous.
Yeah,
thank
beautiful.
you.
The
Can you
power.
actually wear it?
What?
Can you actually wear it?
I haven't tried yet. I'm sort of scared too, but I'll try one day.
It looks better on the head.
Yeah, I think so too.
With COVID in mind, is that responding to COVID, doing a mask like that?
It is definitely. So the nature is like the one thing that isn't getting affected right now. If anything, it's sort of like thriving. And then also like I was thinking about like apothecaries from like the Middle Ages and how they used like certain herbs to protect themselves when there were plagues or stuff like that. Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah,
Thank you,
really
Sophia. Thank you. That was very nice. I'm going to quickly share a couple of drawings I've been doing, and then we'll wrap it up. I'm an artist as well. I will go for the high-tech solution.
Lovely.
Awesome.
This is my new sketch pad. It's a little like a 6x6. And so I'm lucky to be on a harbor here in a building where I can go out and sort of do what I've always done, amongst other things, but I've always done water, sky, and land.
Is that pen? Is that ink or a
Yeah,
pencil?
I'm using like a micro, a little.
Yeah, pen, micro pen.
He's very. I love writing with him and drawing, and let's see. These are quick. This is something I don't draw buildings. I always draw, nature, and so I went ahead and I sort of put some, these are quick sketches. But I think I'm going to start to draw some buildings.
Great.
Yeah, it gives a little solidity to my my more abstract lines, and makes it look like it's not all random for those that don't sort of get that it's not. And that.
Nice. Yeah.
So.
I like the randomness as well.
Yeah, I think we had a great talk. We've hit some very interesting points that everybody shares. And it's food for thought. I think it's food we take with us. Images that Ray showed stayed with an artist. They were disturbing. Art can be disturbing. And what it disturbs is it sort of disturbs us towards a better place. And other times art is beautiful to see a landscape. One of the artists presented beautiful Parisian landscapes. Art does many different things. It's not like designed to do one. And all of you are doing the parts of it. And when we come together, I think it's a great whole. And I thank you all. This is Artist Talk on Art. Every Mondays. We have more programming coming. This is what we're doing now in the pandemic. We're going to have other programming and panels, more in line with our traditional panels with topics and dialogues. But thank you all. Keep coming. Sophia, thank you. Mitch from our board. Jacqueline Rada, and everybody at the board who puts in their time to make these events happen. Thank you guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
See you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.